Rooms 1 and 2 are down here. 3, 4, 5, 6 upstairs. I was like, you too. Enjoy it.
It feels a little weird.
No, don't run out. Hi, Elaine. I'm Steve Holmes. I think we've been on a Teams call before, maybe. You look so familiar to me. You look so familiar to me, though. So sorry. Well, welcome. I hope you enjoyed the conference. So maybe we'll have you doing our training programs.
Yes. We're going to convince it.
Once you get through level 1 training, that's like in the first month. Oh, we're getting you. This is going to be so once you move from level 1 to level 3, we have our own program for all of Utah, actually for all the region. So we'll see you. Okay. Yes, and then I would. Where do I go? I'm going to try to get into the chaplain.
Hi.
Room 1.
So this line right here is in here.
Okay. I'm on that.
And this line right here is over the wall, out and back in on the other side.
Okay.
So we will begin to hear for how to become a pilot in about 3 minutes. So if you are here, come on to the front middle so you can get a good seat.
So Levi says that they would have been both change their presentations.
He just sent me one. Are they here?
I was like, we're already in the comments. It's not the right time.
Fortunately, I have access to email.
How you doing? Just pass it along. That's lower. Yeah. You got speaking.
I just announce real quick?
You bet.
If you are here for the milestone class, that is on the other side. Yeah, for
Behind the milestone.
the names. So if you're here for that class, the map is incorrect.
Yeah, we spoke through one, so this is how to become a pilot and how to go in there, the milestone names.
So go out that way to the left. It's the next classroom there.
Right, right, we're just waiting for a couple people to trickle in. How many of you been in civil air control for more than 5 years? Fantastic. How many of you been in for less than 6 months? Right, you did that. Exciting. Remember, very good, very good. So we're getting started here. So my name is Lieutenant Colonel United States Air Force retired Andres Eastman, but I started civil air control right here in Utah 40 years ago. I came to my conference, like many of you, trying to figure out what I wanted to do in life. So here's my question today. What is your dream? What is your dream? What do you want to do? Play mechanic. What is your dream? Junior. In high school? Very good. Very good. What about you? The Air Force pilots. How old are you? 12. Outstanding. So I had grown up, and you take those tests in middle school and junior high, and my test said, you'd be a great physician, doctor. I go, I don't want to be a doctor. My dream was to be a pilot. I grew up in Salt Lake Valley, and I remember lying on the cool grass on a warm summer day, watching all those airplanes soar over my head, the birds flying high in the sky, and the clouds floating by. That's what I wanted to do, but I had a great teacher and mentor who helped me understand what I could do. I'm going to talk about that a little in my presentation here today. In 1985, April 13th, is the 10 and palpitating heart, I flew an airplane for the first time by myself. Has anybody here sold an airplane? You'll never forget that day, will you? That day, to me, changed my life.
Tom Dale is, he's been kind of sick.
I always wanted to do that. But I'm living the dream, so I'm in a non-traditional uniform today because I want you to think about what that means to you. So let's talk about how to become a pilot. How many of you think about becoming a pilot? Yeah, we're going to talk about it. How many think about becoming an aviation mechanic, maintenance, or working on airplanes? How many want to become a UAS pilot? Come this afternoon, we'll be talking about unmanned aerial systems in our CAP US Academy class. We're going to help you. How many of you have a drone ready to get your plane? No one has a drone? Just a couple of you? Oh, come fly this afternoon. If you've never flown a drone, we're going to set up right here. So we're going to talk about becoming a military pilot and a civilian pilot. So let's talk about the military first. This is the path that I did. And I've done a couple squadron visits, and so some of the slides may be familiar, but some of them not. So if you want to be a pilot in the Air Force, you need to be commissioned, and we're going to talk about some U.S. Air Force careers that are also not pilot. Now, for the Navy, it's very similar. The Army does one officer as well as commissioned pilots. So there are many tracks in the military. So the first thing, commissioned officer, U.S. citizen, you got to be a college graduate. They're looking for that experience you gain by going to college. Age 18 to 48. I put that up there because you can be a chaplain or a medical professional at age 48. To be a pilot, they want you to enter by the time you're 29 and a half. Now, the key is that you need to be in pilot training by then. We had one of our students in the Air Force Ashore pilots. I helped him get a waiver at age 33 to start pilot training. So right now, there are opportunities out there to fly. These are the Air Force core values. Are you familiar with everyone in here? What does civil air control add to those three? Volunteer service, right. When I was in the Air Force, I raised my right arm in the square, said, I'll support the defend the Constitution of the United States. I'm willing to go out there and support it. As a matter of fact, the difference is you are volunteers. But otherwise, you're part of the total force, right? So which one is missing? Respect. Now, guess what? I think respect establishes civil air control, and it should be part of everyone's core values. when Colonel Johnson, who I knew in Colorado Wing, talked about those affirmations and talked about those things that we have, this should be something we think of every day. So I went to the Air Force Academy. That's the first thing to go to your commission, right? Anybody ever been to Colorado Springs and seen the Air Force Academy? Think about going there? Beautiful school. You march to lunch every day. You wear uniforms every day. It's kind of a different environment. But after 4 years of marching on there, I got to do some incredible things. You get to go soaring. You get to go do a lot of aviation background. And then after 4 years, you toss your hat in the air Thunderbirds flight head, your commissioned officer. Now, out of those 4 years, about half of the cadets go to aviation careers. When I was there, it was about 75%. I came back to Air Force Academy, worked on the staff in 2007 to 11, and it was about half for aviation careers. So whether, those opportunities are pretty amazing. The second way is ROTC, Reserve Officer Training Corps. You can get a 4-year full-ride scholarship at ROTC, or you can get a partial scholarship, or you can just go, even when you're not on scholarship. The first 2 years, you can just try it out. No commitment. You just have to be able to march and learn how to drill. And how many of you know how to march and wear a uniform, right? So the key is with ROTC is you still compete for a pilot spot. You still have opportunities. Utah State University has an ROTC program as well as BYU, and you need to be attached to BYU. There's a good program. The second 2 years, even if you're not on scholarship, you're part of the cadre, you go to training, you get a $300 a month stipend just for being an ROTC cadet. When you graduate, you get commissioned, those bars are identical to if you go to the Air Force Academy. When you go to serve in the military, there's no difference. The difference is, as the Air Force Academy cadet, you're a sequestered for those 4 years. You do some amazing things. Can't get married, go 4 years. One of my friends went down to a school down south in Utah Valley. He spent 3 years at BYU applying. He finally made the Air Force Academy. How many years did he have to go to the Air Force Academy and the 3 years of college completed? 4 years. He still had 4 years in the Air Force Academy. Now, if you go to Utah State University and you've got some high school and college courses completed, you can finish your degree in 3 years. You can get married. You only wear the uniform on Thursdays. You still do teaching twice a week. So there's some differences between ROTC. There's some great opportunities to do that. The third method is OTS, Officer Training School. Now, this is a little bit different. This is created to help a lot of prior enlisted come in the Air Force, that they fill the medical and Eagle Corps there, but they also bring a lot of other folks in there. One of my students at Utah State University, Sandra Vasquez, they go to ROTC, they go to the academy, she went through the aviation program, and she kept going, I go by Professor Barron now at the university, Professor Barron, I really think let's serve the military, but the 135 unit of Salt Lake doesn't have any openings. So I sat down with her and we talked, and we looked across the country for different units, and she found a guard unit in Maine, the Maniacs, who flies the 135. And so she went interview, got accepted, and I flew out to Maxwell Air Force Base, where I got to commissioner. Now at Maxwell, it's 8 weeks long, it keeps changing, 9 weeks, I think it's still 8 weeks now. But you go there and learn how to march, you do a lot of PT. Now this airplane up here is B, what PT company that is? The mighty C-130, the mighty C-130, that's why I can take pictures. It's not just any more than PT. But after 8 weeks, I got to fly out there, commissioner in the Air Force. Now Captain West flies the KC-135. So again, those are the 3 methods to basically come and become a pilot in the military. Any questions about the military routes? What do you think the military looks for? What kind of things are they looking for? Yes. Good background, a lot of experience. Keep your nose clean, right? What else? They look for that discipline, that commitment. What else? Fitness. Let's talk about the fitness is important. This is one of the reasons why I really like Civil Air Patrol. How many times do you do fitness programs at Civil Air Patrol? Every single month, right? You have that fitness. So that fitness is a big part of it. And the second part you said was what? Leadership. Let's think about that. How many of you here have had leadership responsibility in Civil Air Patrol already? Most of you. You have 2 stripes on your sleeves. How many colors? What do you have in Civil Air Patrol leadership already?
I was
Acting Flight Sergeant. I remember I joined Civil Air Patrol in 1981, and I had just about turned 14 years old. And my second week there, they said, we need somebody in an aerospace minute next week. Get up, Eastman. You can pick anybody you want. Yes, sir. Who do you pick? The Wright brothers. So the next week I got up and did this presentation. I must have done well enough. They said, hey, can you do this every month? So I became the aerospace attendant of their enterprise composite squadron. And I'm just going, I didn't have to strap on my sleeve or on my collar, right? But I'm doing that leadership position right away. That leadership is good. You know what else they like? You know how to wear a uniform. You understand what it's like to be in this military environment. That's a huge plus. About 10 to 12% of all cadets in the Air Force Academy are prior to Weather Patrol. As a matter of fact, when I was in the Air Force 27 years, I stayed in Civil Weather Patrol. I did it in 10 different units, including overseas as well. So again, when you go get a commission, you can continue to serve. Now, this is some pretty amazing things. So even if you don't want to fly as a pilot, you can become a system. This is the first female fighter pilot. Where are these folks here? They're sitting back in an airplane. You may know, yes, sir. You know, just about. That was World War II, but they do that. These are the AWACS, Air Battle Managers. So these folks are not pilots, but they're rated, they fly airplanes, and they help conduct operations in the air. Whether it's civilian peacetime disaster assessment, relief, or whether it's military combat operations, they help control. So there are so many different critical flight surgeons get to fly. They've got test pilots. They've got, when you think about the Air Force, right now we're kind of behind in training, so this is what we're doing. This will be coming to Civil Air Patrol. So, John Wagner, this is what we're going to be doing. So, actually, I need to say something. I'm going to embarrass him. 7 October 1981, I visited Squadron for the first time. And I'm sitting there in this presentation by a cadet who just come back from Norway going to International Cadet Exchange. Anybody think you want to go on IAs? What rank do you have to be to go on IAs? Anybody know? You got to be a fit captain, Major Earhart. So that was my goal. And he had visited the Air Force Academy, and I got home and told my mom, Mom, this is so awesome. I know how to get to the Air Force Academy and become a pilot. Well, what's the Weather Patrol? I'll keep my hair short, say, yes, ma'am, no, sir, have good day, it's fine, you go to the Weather Patrol. Years later, I come back to Utah League, and I ran into John. I'm going, John, did you go to Norway IAs? What are you saying? I go, John, you are the reason I joined the Weather Patrol. You are the reason why I found my path. I was just like many of you, wanting to go to a pilot in the Air Force. And one person made that difference. So now he's connected after all these years. He's become a very good friend. And he didn't even know the influence he had on me until I told him. And now, my twin boys are both pilots in me. One's at Hill Air Force Base. What is he flying? F-35. His twin brother is at Oklahoma flying T-1s, and several of my students from USU are now students there as lieutenants, and they keep sending me pictures. Hey, guess who I met? I met your son, Captain Leisman, because they seem like, go, Captain Leisman, you know what Professor Barron in Utah State? But that's funny. The Air Force is really small. In fact, Major Helston was my first flight commander in Enterprise Composite Squadron. Steve Baxter was a senior member in the squad. You know, it's just amazing how small the world is. All right, let me go. Okay, so pilot training, it's a year long of your life. It is an intense year for military training. You're getting your private commercial multi-engine instrument rating in 1 year. You go 200 flight hours and about half that in the simulator. And you are doing officership, you're doing training. You start out in the T6 Texan, then you'll track in the 38 for the fighter bomber or the T1. Now this is changing. They're in the process of doing some different things, but just understand that if you go fighter bomber, you will have an introduction to fighter fundamentals. You learn how to fly formation. If you go tanker transport, for now there is a lead-in where you learn how to do this operation. Of course, you've got helicopters. But how many of you think you want to go out there and be a pilot in the Air Force and fly fighters? Yeah? Come on, good. All right. Try this on. Let me know how this feels. Put your arm down, your right arm. There we go. No one's ever helped you put a jacket on, right? There you go. There you go. What do you think? You love it. So this right here is an Air Force, the A2 jacket. Got my wings on it. It's kind of funny, whenever I send students solo to the Air Force, I take my wings off and throw them on their chest because they're borrowing my wings to fly solo. But this is the jacket that I wore. That's my actual A2 jacket. So, yeah, okay, I didn't know that. So, but see, that is one of the, you know, the sense of belonging, the sense of being connected. That's what we do a lot in the Air Force, is try to find ways to do that. Okay, I'm going to show you a little video here about Air Force pilot training. Now, when I was in pilot training, we didn't have GoPros, we didn't have cameras, didn't have all this fancy stuff. This is a video from joint, it's called Euronato Joint Jet Pilot Training, NJET. And these are all the different countries that participate. This is not my class, not my son's class who went to Euronato, but I've done everything here. I've done the 4-ship flying, I've done the T-38 flying, and I just want you to take this and think about what it means to be an Air Force pilot.
We've always defined ourselves by the ability to overcome the impossible. To account these moments, these moments when we dare to aim higher, to break barriers, to reach for the stars, to make the unknown known. To count these moments as our proudest achievement. Perhaps we've just forgotten that we're still pioneers, that we've barely begun, and that our greatest accomplishments cannot be behind us, but our destiny lies above us.
What movie is that from? So everyone makes a patch, and this is the patch from their class. So this is my class patch that I designed, and we were the Olympic year. The German, American, Italians. Now, what's really cool is this is when they're getting their assignments. This is when they're going to find out what airplane they're going to fly, which is pretty amazing.
Creatures in my dreams break down.
That's good, sir. That quote. So where do you find outstanding? So when you look at the Mighty C-130, it's got more versions and variants out there. It's an unbelievably wonderful airplane. I love the crew concept. I love the ability to go out there and work as a team and tactical. But, you know, here's a little aircraft recognition for some of you. So what's in the bottom right of the screen? C5 down, C, right, the largest military airplane in the United States. What is this one right here? A-10? Nickname? Warthog, right? Thunderbolt, there's Warthog. What is this right here? The AWACS airplane? Where's the pilot sitting in this one here? What? There is a pilot. Remote pilot on the ground in Nevada and New Mexico, right?
I have actually instructed the RCT last fall, and two of my students, one of my students was a rocket operator in the UAV program. The Army is becoming a pilot with the team. So they're flying all over the world from their office in Texas.
Yeah. So it's remotely piloted, so there's a pilot together. Which is the only airplane out there that's currently not flying today? What is the airplane not flying? The Air Force 71. You want to go see one of those? Where's the closest one to go look at? Hill Air Space Museum. That's right. I love that issue, but what is this right here? The VTOL, right? Vertical lift, the Osprey. This right here is the mighty C-130. And the helicopters. So again, there's a lot of wonderful opportunities out there to go fly. And you better believe it, that it's an amazing life to go up there and be part of that. But if you don't want to be a pilot in the Air Force or go air crew, guess what? We need doctors, we need lawyers, we need intelligence officers, we need folks who do combat control, we need morticians. I mean, if you want to be a leader, you want to serve your country, you can do it. And not everybody's going to have a chance to go up there to be a pilot. One of my good friends in the Air Force, we're out there doing joking and marching. He's always on the right side, but for height, I said, I'm going to put him over here. And all of a sudden, he's not dressed right. I go, hey, Adrian, you need to dress right. He goes, sir, I make a statement. I go, what? He goes, sir, I can't see out of my right eye. And I said, what? He pops out a glass eyeball. And I said, Dave, you never told me. He goes, well, sir, I don't like to talk about it. He can't fly. I'm the military information. But he certainly stood up and told me and gave me a win and actually kept competition. But I after that, I always put him on the right side so that he could make sure he dressed in colors. You know, but so I understand that people have some limitations, but realize that there's opportunities out there for us to be involved in civil control. Question?
All my brother, I was quite a long time.
One of my colleagues is a pilot, goes to a maintenance program. He went to go to the Air Force. He's ready to join the Air Force, took his test. He's up there doing all the color blindness. Gets the last one. He goes, that's a 14. They go, what are you sure? It should be a 7. He's up there and goes, no, it's a 1. He had this little red, green, orange color blindness. FAA pilot, the Air Force didn't take him. All right, let's talk about a couple other things now. There's a civilian life. For those who don't want to go to military academies, we have a civilian now. Let's talk about a couple different ones. The first one is the University of Dallas, and I'm Professor Grant at Utah State University. Love to have aviation and be part of that at Utah State. Now, we're going to talk about Utah State, but realize I'm going to compare it to another university program. The good thing about the university program is you get your college education while you're doing it. You can apply for special loans. You can get parent loans and scholarships and all kinds of experience. Plus, you can work on a backup plan as well, right? I just talked to an individual who's teaching for us now. He flew for SkyWest, for Southwest for 20 years. His last physical, he had some little eye problems. And they said, okay, let's take a look at your eyes. You're having some challenges. A year and a half later, they said, you're medically grounded. You'll never fly again. And now he's teaching. Thank goodness he has a degree where he can teach. So we have a helicopter program. So does Southern Utah University. How many people want to fly rotary wing? Ready? How do helicopters fly? They beat the air in submission, right?
Oh, that's so ugly. The person checked.
There you go. Just incredible. I talked to a helicopter pilot because you never can relax. You are constantly vigilant. But the whole world's a landing zone, right? And every once in a while, life flight, that's the tip of the spear. That is the top. But you got to get experience. You go do tours, you go do all kinds of support. But it's an incredible opportunity. Anybody have a chance to ever be in a helicopter before? Pretty amazing, isn't it? What kind of helicopter was it? Okay. Where was this at? Congratulations. When you start? Navy. Rock on. And where do you want to find the Navy? Very nice. Oh, amazing. There's one thing on my bucket list, I'd love to get helicopter rated, but it's expensive. You know,
One of our former cadets, that we all know, Steve Arvanites, was a Navy helicopter pilot.
yeah, Arnold, very good, amazing. Second thing is a fixed wing program. So when you go to a fixed wing program at university, you want to look for a Part 141 quota member of the airlines. To become an airline pilot, you need 1,500 hours. You train 3 years old. But if you go to a university program that's Part 141, that means we have the specialized training and education to get you to the airlines with 1,000 hours. And that's saves you 500 hours, which could be over a year, tens of thousands of dollars a flying. We fly the GA40, GA42, just like you. SCU flies the Cirrus. You can go to some different programs. So there's a lot of opportunities out there to go fly. This is the Diamond Star and Twin Star. Yeah, it's a glass cockpit center stick. It's a glider. You can put you. I love this airplane. I flew down to the Air Force Academy too when I was there to do the production program. We have some great simulators too. Simulators is where you can do things that you normally don't want to do in the air. You can shut your engine down, give you an engine fire, tell your radios, give you terrible weather, crosswinds out of limits, right? I can't do that in real life. But guess what? The simulator can. So, about 80% of your time in the simulator is learning how to take care of emergencies. Who's soul murder? Anybody know who soul murder was? Miracle on the Hudson, Air Force Academy graduate. I heard him speak there, and he said, "I've flown millions of miles for tens of thousands of hours. I'm going to be remembered for 3 minutes of my career." 3 minutes. Think about that. You prepare and you do so much in your life in aviation for that one opportunity. So don't ever think that the training you're getting now and the experience you have is not going to be impactful. Maintenance, you're talking about aircraft mechanics. You like working with your hands? This is an incredible opportunity to go out there and work. Now, you can be a diesel mechanic lying on a dirty, dusty road working underneath a tractor, or you can be lying in an air-conditioned hangar working on a $40 million corporate business. You know, there's some great opportunities. When you graduate with a maintenance degree, and we were the only university in Utah, one of the two in the nation, an engine jet run laboratory in the middle of campus. You work on a jet engine and run it on campus. I'll show you a quick video. But hands-on. Now, who else hires aviation mechanics besides aviation? Any guesses? Yes. Maybe? You betcha. How about Lagoon and Disney? How about hydroelectric power plants? How about Porsche and Audi? What's that? Oh, absolutely. All these different industries like aviation mechanics because you have the most precise, most disciplined, and most depth of knowledge. We're doing composites up in our program here. So we have a four-year, we're the only four-year maintenance program in the state of Utah State University. There's a solid team college driving in the valley from associate's degree. It's taxable to our program. So you can get into the maintenance virtual, and you start out making $45 an hour. There are some great opportunities. Now, understand that if you go to aviation, whether it's the airlines, the fixing airplanes, the flying airplanes, your first shifts are going to be union nights and weekends and holidays. That's the way it works, right? You got to get seniority so we prepare for that. But the good thing about aviation is it's nearly 100% job. You want to go to aviation, it's the only market. That's what you can do. Now, this is the newest program in the state of Utah at Utah State University. It's unmanned aerial systems. We have a full 4-year degree in unmanned aerial systems. You can become a drone pilot. Our program is set up so that you can drones and landscape architecture, drones and agriculture, drones and engineering. So it complements your program. Now, we have folks that are flying drones right now and getting paid to students. I went to a seminar where they were showing from Kennecott Copper Mine, the Rio area. They had a little area that swept it. And they had to hire a company to come in and fly some drones. They were able to analyze using the unmanned aerial systems, the quality of the material. They've hired this engineer full-time now. They paid training for 50 of the truck drivers. So if they're driving around, they've got a drone. They see something stop, they pop the drone out, and the drone has a live feed to that engineer, and they can assess that data right now. And once they do the whole thing, the whole mine in one time, now they have a map. And every time something happens, they fly a drone and compares the two, they can see what's changing. Drones are changing pilots. You know Colonel Matt Johnson, Rebecca Matt Johnson? He was flying for Google Earth and doing all these maps and assessment in California, Western United States. After a couple years, he said, "Hey, thank you. Guess what? We're now doing that at homes. We don't need you to fly anymore. Pipeline inspections, bridge inspections, so much is being done by manual systems. As a matter of fact, one of my friends works for a company that does inspections of auditoriums and arenas. They used to have to set scaffolds up there and spend $100,000 to inspect the roofs. Now they fly a drone inside, do all the inspections. It's safer, it's faster, it's less expensive. So there's a lot of change. And I won't even talk about air taxis and everything else coming in. There's a lot of changes. But it's a fun class, FAA certified, and at the end of the presentation, I'll mention, again, this afternoon, we're going to be talking about the CAP UAS Drone Academy out in Pikes Peak on July. How many of you went to last summer? I've got a few people out there. A lot of fun? Yeah, so we're going to be doing it again this year, expanded for a day, more drones, more flying, more certifications. So we went out there and every day we were building, we were flying, and getting involved. So to summarize, drones and civil air control is part of their certification. Drones and civil air control is part of their program. It could be their that. And drones and civil air control is part of emergency services. Down in Vernal last year, the year before, there was our UAS folks that activated to go to Vernal to look for a lost person. And so it happens. There was a news story here a month ago where they went out and found some folks here with the thermal camera knife. So UAS is going to be part of civil control. Buckle up, get ready. We're going to be done. So here are the universities just in Utah. But what's also on here is there are high school programs like a GTI or a JTC. There are commercial aviation. You can go on your own. So if you don't want to go the collegiate route, you're not sure the military routes for you, you have programs. You can go out to a local FBO, South Valley Regional Naval Stat Park, and you can talk to them, and you can get your flight training. And you can start flying as you have time. We have a 9-week summer program, which I'll talk about, that you're able to do in Price, and that's a concise flight 5 days a week. But you can go to South King College for Babies, to Southern Utah University. So we, as Utah, we have an incredible amount of aviation opportunities here. And so you are all very blessed from the south to the north of the state, and even in Price, we have one.
There was one other one that you didn't mention, one of the routes. Airlines have a flight training, a pilot training route as well.
Yeah,
So
so
Lufthansa was the one that started it.
yeah, so basically what they're doing is they just created their own little flight school where they give you your training, and now you have to go off and do tours or instruction somewhere else. And so they're sponsored, but you're committed to them. But there are some programs, so 88, some other programs are coming out. So working with opportunities, there's scholarships available out there. So the high school preparation I talked about with Granite Division, the Granite School District, GTI courses, you can go to their division. Jordan School District, JTC, they're starting one up in Ogden, they're doing one some other places, and of course Civil Air Patrol. Civil Air Patrol is one of the best places to go to Civil Air Patrol to get aviation training. How many of you done an orientation ride already? Okay? What do you think about your first orientation ride? We got the controls? It's required. How much did that flight cost you? Nothing. Yeah, you had to wear a uniform for a Civil Air Patrol, right? I still remember the first time I was in a Civil Air Patrol airplane, and the instructor and refilled me and said, "Okay, you have the aircraft." And I reached out and I grabbed it. It's going, I didn't know what to drive a car. I'm flying an airplane. You know what I mean? It was just like amazing. Now, I've felt this so many years. I can teach anybody to fly. I can't teach everybody going. That's the hardest thing when you instruct is finding a couple people, this one like that. I teach you to fly. I remember them glider rides in Civil Air Patrol. That's an amazing opportunity. Did you know Civil Air Patrol also does balloons? You can go get training in balloons. So yeah, that's in this program. So it's pretty amazing. But we've got a couple things here. I want to do a real quick. If you want to do a 9-week program, and these are for adults, you can give 9 weeks to go to pilot. And this is just a little video of our summer camp. Yeah, I know it's encampment and summer, so you can do it, but I just want to show you this video of what it's like to get involved in aviation. So to show you this video of our camp, unfortunately, is full for the summer already. It filled up really quick. But here, you want to see an engine run, you see a Navy slide, you see drone flying, you'll see hands-on experience, some opportunities in aviation.
being able to do that was a lot of fun.
The Baron Andres came to my school and he told us about this camp here. So we went last year and we had so much fun. We came again this year.
My favorite part of the camp was flying the helicopters, just getting to like control it and steer it around.
I really liked that I got to kind of take the controls and be hands-on with the plane.
The helicopter and the plane both had insanely pretty views, and that was just so cool for me. I can't wait to actually learn how to fly one now.
I really have always wanted to fly small planes, and so this was kind of fulfilling my dream.
The carbon fiber and riveting was excellent. That was a lot of fun.
The simulator for the helicopter, it had the joystick and I could take off. For the airplane that I just did, it moved around, it tilted to the side and all that, and you could feel it lift off the ground when you took off.
We got to go inside and look at the different stuff around the engine. We got to learn about how the engine worked, and then we got to see him fire it off.
What made ID Aviation so cool was the leadership experience, the education, and the flight.
The people we did get to know were really great, and it's a way fun environment, and everyone wanted to talk to everyone, and that was really nice.
Sometimes it's hard for you to break out of yourself, so if you're kind of thrust upon being a leader, you kind of take charge and you figure out the easiest way to succeed.
One thing I'm going to tell my parents about the camp is that this was an amazing experience, and I definitely want to fly in the future.
It was exciting and liberating, and that I'm able to career in aviation.
I heard about it through my school's Gear Up program. They paid for half of it, and I paid for the other half, and it was definitely some of the best money I've ever spent. It's been such an awesome camp.
All right, so, I look at this type of experience. It's experiential learning, it's hands-on learning. There's a lot of educational philosophy about that about aviation. I can talk about it. I can say it was like for me, but we're going to switch gears here a little bit because we've got a couple opportunities in civil air control that you have an opportunity to learn how to fly. We've got scholarships and funding programs in civil air control. So come on up here and tell us about your experience. Introduce yourself, please. Well, you're very good civil air control. Cool. All right.
I'm Zach Miller. Hi guys. So that's me. I joined Civil Air Patrol about 2 years ago. I joined Civil Air Patrol 2 years ago in October. What was it? 2019. And I joined it to become a pilot, obviously. I'm guessing that's what most of you guys want to do, right? So, I've always wanted to do this. It's been kind of a dream of mine since I was 5 years old. And I've explored so many different routes. I've done all flights with UVU. I've done with private, like Phoenix Aviation and Spanish Fork. I've done with Cornerstone. I've done them with Utah State. So I've always been looking for ways to fly my whole life. And part of it, well, all of it that got me here was kind of some inspiration from one of the meetings I went to. You right there, Matthew Graves. I went to a meeting and Civil Air Patrol wasn't planned at all or anything. And he was actually getting his wings pinned that night. That really inspired me to kind of pursue this track. I didn't even know Civil Air Patrol had the option to do any training. And what people don't understand is there's a lot of ways that you can do it. There's self-funding. Civil Air Patrol has scholarships as well. There's the Wing Scholarship. You guys have the Solo Flight Academy. So there's multiple different areas that you can explore within Civil Air Patrol to get your wings. I self-funded myself, so I tried doing the Wing Scholarship, which you apply for it and they give you the funds. The Air Force gives you the funds to go to private pilot. But I was 10 days after the physical year, so I did not get that option. So I self-funded, and when I was a month before I was 16, so that would be August of 2020, I started flying that aircraft right there. That is the day I soloed in October. It was the best day of my life. The weather was really good. Everything about it was really good. But overall, I mean, for Civil Air Patrol offers so many reduced options. My experience with Civil Air Patrol, the aircraft are super well maintained. The instructors are amazing. That's my instructor right there, Ray Rollins. I don't think I could have ever asked for a better instructor. I've flown with numerous people. I've gotten experiences in plenty of different aircraft, and training in that aircraft, training with Ray, getting so many different experiences was one of the best experiences. But more on Civil Air Patrol. So I soloed their aircraft. Their aircraft are, like I said, really well maintained. The funds that you get from their aircraft, the funding to fund it, I funded it myself with a little bit of help from my parents. And I'm 17. I turned 17 in September last year. Well, 2021, yeah, so last year. And I'm still in high school. I'm a junior in high school right now. Just finishing out my junior year. And I sold that aircraft when I was a sophomore at Maple Mountain down in Naples in the Spanish Fork area. Moving on from that, those are some of the cool things you can see in the air. I mean, if any of you guys have experienced night flying before, it's a completely different realm than flying during the day. You know, some of the things you don't even get to see during, you know, if you're on an airliner flying at night, like red eye to New York. I mean, so that's Provo Municipal, right off the Bay of Provo, and I was in a night cross country with my other instructor, Nathaniel, who's now an instructor at Utah State. And the cool thing about that is some of the things that you see, you'll just never see them again. My instructor took that picture because we just could see everything from Provo all the way up to, like, not Ogden, but we could see all the way up Salt Lake Valley at night. And that was super cool. But so those are some of the things that you guys can see. I mean, flying I started super young when I was 16, and there's so many opportunities within Civil Air Patrol. Civil Air Patrol, you just put in your effort with it. For me, it's kind of like a networking thing. If you're network, you can do it. as you just gotta be outgoing, willing to do it. I put in, it took me about a year, to get my license. I started, like I said, right before my 16th birthday. I wasn't even driving yet. I mean, I have my permit, but I wasn't even licensed to drive. And when I was licensed to drive, I barely driven, and I had soloed an airplane. And so, I personally, I've never met anybody that does that at my school. So, and thanks, Civil Air Patrol really helped me get there, because when you look at the differences, the major thing for me was, what kind of got me down was some of the programs I was looking at was, it was like over $300 or close to $300 an hour for flight training, and they're it was just so expensive, and I wanted to pay for it myself, because it was something that I felt that need to feel ownership of it, and that's another thing Civil Air Patrol really helped me do, is because I felt the ownership of my private pilot license by being able to pay for it myself, and that was really the whole goal of why I was flying. I was able to achieve this license and pay for it myself as a high school student, which I thought I could never do. But here, so that's the aircraft I flew. I thought I would just share some of the flights I had. So this was my first solo to Nephi. So when you're doing your flight training, you have some of the requirements. There's some requirements and hours you have to get before that your DP will look over, your examiner will look over. And some of them is cross-country hours. So you need to, what is it? It's 10 cross-country hours, or is it 5? Yeah.
I have to look it up.
Yeah, I have to look it up too.
But there is a certain number of solo hours you have to have. You have to have at least 40 total. Most people are closer to 15 to 55.
Yeah. Yeah, I had.
Have two solo cross country, one is a good one.
Yeah, I know for my big one, the big solo cross country that I did was to Fillmore. So it's about 100 miles direct each way. So that's a solo cross country that I did, but this one was to Nephi. So the first solo cross country that I did was to Nephi, and I was out of South Valley. So it's about 55 miles, so about a 40-minute flight roughly. And so that I landed there, got gas, and went back. And so you need some solo hours, you need some cross country, you need some night, and then they require you to have 3 hours of simulated instrument too, which is pretty interesting. But it's good that you have that knowledge as well. So they require some of that. This was when I went to Fillmore, and that was the coolest experience I've ever had. That was the longest time I was in an airplane by myself ever. Other than an airliner, that's the longest time I've ever been in an airplane by myself, me only being in controls. And I mean, even after my first solo, I didn't think I'd ever experienced that. But once you hit that first solo, I hit that first solo and I was like, wow, I'll never do that again. I mean, I want to do that again, but I'll never experience it for the first time. So it was just the coolest experience I've ever had, and that's moving on from my flight training to kind of the end game. That's the track of my check ride. So so my check ride, I did it with Craig Tierling. He's a member of Civil Air Patrol and flight examiner. So I had 2 tries. I did it, and I busted some of maneuvers that I did. My steep turns were a little bit out, but those were my 2 tracks. I never got discouraged when I busted. That's kind of the thing that I had was perseverance is key in this entire experience, because if you don't have perseverance, then it's a very rigorous training environment. So you really got to give it your all the whole time, and that's what I experienced, and that's me after the check ride. It was 4 long days, waking up at 5 a.m., sitting in the airport, getting out at 4 p.m., and eating a small little, protein bar or something. And even then, you're using the Civil Air Patrol aircraft the whole time. It was a really good environment. I had a lot of support the whole time. And there, it's just to kind of punch the line there. Their funding and their the funding that you get, the reduced funding, and the maintenance that you get on these aircraft are really amazing. I could have just never asked for anything better. I didn't think I'd be doing this at 17, but here I am. So, yeah, that's kind of my experience that I had flying. Yeah, that's it.
Very nice.
Okay, I know we're hitting the end of our time block. Let me just say a couple things real quick. So I was the cadet of the year in 1984 for Utah Wing. I got a solo scholarship, paid for all my flying every solo. Civil Air Patrol has money out there. They've got scholarships. We do a Utah Wing Flight Academy. Air Force pays for some of that. But the highlight of this section is to talk about that the Air Force is now giving out private pilot licenses to cadets. You have an opportunity to fly and be competitive for this, where they pay for everything. They pay for your training, pay for your ground school, pay for your check ride, and you can earn private pilot license. I think it was 250 last year nationwide. And so there are opportunities like that. We can Utah Flight Academy. I think the deadline is passed for this year already. But for those that are looking for flying opportunities, talk to your unit leaders. Get on the websites and see what the deadlines are to see what you can do. So there are many wonderful opportunities out there. Major House, anything we didn't cover in this section that you need to hit?
So you have the Flight Academy. There's also the Wings program, where that's the fully funded flight pilot. And then after you become, after like Cadet Weller, after he took his check ride, he also became a CAP VFR pilot. He gets 1.8 hours of funded flying a month in Civil Air Patrol as well.
Now, what's really interesting is the Junior ROTC program has a similar Wings program, and when the Junior ROTC cadets come back, they also have funded hours. And guess who flies the Junior ROTC cadets? Civil Air Patrol. So guess who flies the ROTC cadets in college? Civil Air Patrol. Guess who has a teacher flying program? Civil Air Patrol. So if you're thinking about aviation, you have opportunities not to get your private pilot's license, but to continue to fly. So as a cadet, you can fly. You can learn how to fly and get going. And as a city member, for those of you here, there's aviation opportunities as well. Cadets also can be standards observers and mission radio operators. So even if you're not ready to fly right now, get involved in aviation, get involved in what we're doing. Last question. Gliders, there are glider academies. So the glider orientation rides, and then there's some glider academies where you can go get the glider solo. I don't have all the details of the latest.
I was going to ask, in addition to the glider academy, is there any other support that Civil Air Patrol offers for cadets or gliders?
We have, in Utah, we have 2 gliders, but we have not done any glider training for cadets. But if there's cadets who want to get their glider, their pilot's license, talk to me.
Yeah.
We can probably figure something out.
It's similar to the private pilot self-funded program. There's some glider academies that can get some hours, but it's possible. We just don't have the interest and support ready for that yet. But if there's interest, we will figure out what we can do. Colorado started that up in Boulder with the Civil Air Patrol, and so they did have some opportunities. I just want to thank you all for your interest and excitement. I'll be here later today. I work with CUIM. But come talk to me about aviation and Air Force and collegiate programs. Talk to people about the opportunities out there, and good luck with the rest of the conference, and I look forward to seeing you. And with Major Helson, make sure you talk to him. There's lots of opportunities. Okay, so if you think of aviation cadets, you got a 5-minute break before the next session starts. Thank you.
Probably don't have a 5-minute break.